Why is it so frizzy? Ah!
Sarah.
I was anxious, and it was just like that. I started having like panic attacks. Hey guys! I am super happy today because I have just finished my last day of medical school. I just had my meeting with my consultant and he filled in my form to say that I have finished. I've done all my exams. I am done with medical school. I just need to graduate and then I can start work as a doctor in August. And I thought today would be the ideal day to make a video about my medical school journey and how I got into medical school. So grab yourself a coffee. It's going to be a very chatty video and let's get into it. So before I begin properly, I just want to show you guys how cute this mug is. Look at that gorgeous moonstone effect. So this is the mug that my sister made for me and sent me to say well done on completing my exams, and I am obsessed with it. It's so good. Okay, so going all the way back to when I was 16, I did some work experience and my mum suggested to me to go to a doctor's surgery nearby and do it there. So I did half at this doctor's surgery and then I did half at my local hospital. And I just loved it. I thought that the doctors were really clever. I loved that they were solving people's problems and that they were helping people. They all seemed like really caring people and it just felt like this was the career for me. Fast forward 2 years and I was doing my A-levels, and by this point I was so bored of school. I didn't want to be studying anymore and I kind of gave up on the thought of doing medicine. So I decided to apply for a degree in biomedical science because I was still interested in science and the medical side of things, but I hadn't worked hard enough to get the grades to go to do medicine, and I hadn't even applied to do medicine in fact. So when I finished my A-levels, I took a year out and I worked for most of the year to save up for travelling, and then I went and had basically a really nice long holiday, which was amazing. And then I started my my first university course in 2009 when I was 19, doing biomedical science at Sheffield. I really enjoyed, you know, the usual university things, going out and partying lots and making lots of new friends, and I had a part-time job which I loved because I worked in a bar and I met loads of friends doing that. And probably in about my third year, I started thinking more seriously about applying for medicine. I did some research, I looked up all the courses in the UK, I worked out I wrote a little list of all the entry requirements and everything that they wanted for applicants to have in order to get in. So this was when I was in my third year, and pretty much all of them said that they wanted you to have some care experience. I applied to so many caring jobs, so this is while I was still studying, and I ended up getting one in Chesterfield, just outside of Sheffield. So I was doing my university course, I was also working in the bar that I'd always worked at through uni, and I was also doing these healthcare assistant, well, it's also called HCA shifts. I also had my finals to revise for the whole year, and by the time my finals came around, I was so burnt out. I was anxious. I started having like panic attacks before the exams. I think I really exhausted myself and I just got so tired. And at that point, I thought to myself, nope, I can't do medicine. Like, the thought of studying for another 4 years, no, couldn't do it. So I got my degree after all the panic and anxiety I suffered during my last year of my course, and I was really glad that I graduated. I got a good degree, I got a 2-1, but I decided I needed some time out. I wasn't ready to commit to a career, and especially not medicine, and I just couldn't stand the thought of studying anymore. So I carried on working, I carried on doing my HCA shifts, and I carried on working in the bar. I did some work experience in a lab, thinking that maybe I could put my biomedical science degree to good use and go and work in a lab, and that was not for me. I mean, I've got really clever friends doing PhDs and I have so much respect for them, but I could not do that. So lab work, not for me. And then I started thinking, what about teaching? My mum and stepdad are both teachers, so I thought, what the hey, being a teacher, it sounds okay. I mean, my heart wasn't in it, but I just thought it's a 2-year course as opposed to a 4-year course. So I was on a night shift one night in the hospital, and it was really quiet, all the patients were asleep, and me and this other guy were one of the other members of staff. He was a healthcare assistant too. And we were just chatting, and he said, "Sarah, what do you want to do with your life?" And I said that I'd always wanted to become a doctor, but that I'd changed my mind recently and that I just couldn't hack it. It would be another 4 years of studying and training, and that recently I'd been deciding that maybe I could be a teacher because it was only 2 years. He looked me straight on in the face and said,
"Sarah, listen to me."
And he told me that when he was 17, he'd started work as a healthcare assistant, and that he'd always had these big plans of becoming a fully qualified nurse. Then he bought a car, and he said to himself, "Oh, I will just pay off the car and then I'll get work and then I'll start my training as a nurse." And so he put it off and put it off and put it off. And eventually he's still working as a healthcare assistant, which, I mean, he does enjoy his job, but he said that he always regrets not going and doing his nursing training early on, and that he felt it was too late for him to do it now. And he always looks back and regrets it. It's not all about the money, but he gets frustrated that he can't live in a nicer house, and that he can't go on the holidays he wants to, and that he has to drive a bit of a rubbish car, and that he's always worrying month to month about the bills. And I don't think he was trying to scare me or trying to make me feel sorry for him at all, but he really made me think. And he just said to me, another 2 years of training on top of 2 years is nothing, and that it would fly by, and 4 years of hard work would be so worth it to do the career that I really wanted to do. And it was just like that. The penny dropped and a light bulb moment came on, and I just thought, you know what? I've been really self-pitying about this whole I don't want to study anymore thing. And I went home, I slept really nicely, and that afternoon, after I'd slept after my day shift, I applied to Nottingham University and Bristol University to study graduate entry medicine. You had to do an entry test called the GAMSAT to get into Nottingham. And so I got all the learning materials for it, and I wrote myself this personal statement that you have to do when you apply to medicine. And I thought, what have I got to lose? And I'd heard that most people don't get into medicine on their first application. So I booked this trip to Australia, and I thought, I'll go to Australia and I probably won't get into medicine. So if I don't get in, then I can have this like nice big long year in Australia working and travelling, and then I can apply to medicine again the following year. And if I do get into medicine, well, I'll just cut my Australia trip short and have it for 6 weeks, and then it's kind of win-win. And fast forward a few months, I was still doing my HCA work and my bar work and the lab demonstrating, and just before one of my shifts, the post dropped through the door and I'd got into medicine, and I just couldn't believe it. And do you know what my first thought was? I'm gonna have to cut my Australia trip short. Which it now seems so stupid, but that was like the first thing that came into my mind. The course was 4 years. I do not regret it one single bit. I am so glad to be doing this course. I am so glad to be starting work as a doctor. And if any of you have any questions about applying to medicine or becoming a doctor or biomedical science or your A-levels or anything, please get in touch. I'd love to hear from you. Comment below. I read and respond to all my comments. And I really hope you've enjoyed hearing about my little story of how I got into medicine. So if you've enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to check out Debbie's shop in the link in the comments below, and subscribe to my channel to see more. Thanks guys, bye!